I remember hiking in Nepal, and we were trekking up this mountain in the Himalayas, and we asked a passerby, excuse me, like, how much more time until the next village? They'd be like, 15 minutes. 2 hours later, we still haven't reached the village. And we were like, did we take a wrong turn? No,
Possibly.
because they just didn't have that same concept of time as me, the Westerner, and those in my group had. They were just like, that's not what this is about.
I like salad. Do you like salad?
Welcome to Canadian Salad.
A fun, factual, and friendly podcast about culture and integration in Canada.
I'm one of your hosts. I'm Ho Shen Ho from China, currently living in Vancouver, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
And I'm your other host, Andrea McCoy, an immigrant from the United States, broadcasting you from the unceded traditional territory of the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations.
And you're listening to Canadian Salad.
All right, welcome back. Hey, Hoshin.
Hi, welcome back. Oh my
Hey.
God, it's been so long.
It's been so long. I know. Did you remember we had a podcast?
What podcast?
Exactly. We're here and we're going to talk about something that's lighthearted because we have the time. We have the time to do that.
We have the time, true.
Yes,
And it's been a long
time.
time. We haven't talked about
That's right.
Yeah, sing it, baby, sing it.
You, na, na, time after time. That's the name of the episode. Time
Okay.
after time. It's not really the song, but we're going to talk about culture of time.
Yes, we're going to
And-
talk about culture of time.
Yes. And the ways in which different cultures express, experience, and consider time to be either important, not important. So before we jump in though, Hoshin, how driven by time are you? And was being on time something that your family background expected of you? I'm very curious.
Absolutely.
Really
Oh,
in China?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely, like, at least I cannot speak for the whole China, but I feel like in my household, being on time is something that's expected.
Yeah.
Unless it's like dinner, something like you can maybe be late for half an hour tops kind of thing. And if you are late, people usually get a bit mad, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, like I remember when I was home last year during Lunar New Year,
Uh-huh.
and then we have a dim sum, just, like a brunch thing, like dim sum. And then one household, like all of them, was late for an hour. Because my mom booked the whole thing, my mom was furious.
Yeah.
Well, not furious is a strong word, but yeah.
Interesting.
But that
Okay.
also says be late in an hour, that's not acceptable. But I feel like there's a lot of places.
Yeah.
But in generally, like you go to meeting, classes, friends hang out, it's very expected to be on time. I remember when I was dating someone,
Yeah.
when I was trying to dating like a foreigner, I believe he's from the UK, by the way. And then
Okay.
every time we went on a date, he always would be late for like at least 15 minutes.
Really?
And I always get pissed. I was like, I feel like so disrespected. I have to stand there waiting for
Yeah.
him for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But for him, it's really normal. So like, I
Mm,
think that's my
mm.
first time realizing this kind of culture shock. And in terms
Yeah.
of driven by time, I'm definitely very driven by time. And that's absolutely very cultural. Because in
Yeah.
China, like especially for women, I think less for men, I guess. For women especially, I don't know whether you know the term leftover women. Like if you are over the age of 30 and not married, you are leftover women because you have not
Leftover women.
that you have not
Oh.
yet, achieved something that they think a woman should
Yeah.
achieve before 30. So
Yeah.
again, that is like some sort of time frame, like
Yeah.
expiration date for you as a
Yes.
woman.
Yes.
I feel like 30, not necessarily like a hard timeline. In
Mm.
China, it's quite hard, I would
Oh,
say.
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. For men, is the timeline also more loose, but still, like I'm 30
Mm.
now. People always keep saying, "Oh, you're 30 now. Should have at least, have someone long term that you're dating about to get married." And then,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So expectations of time on like personal events or these big milestones in your life. Get it? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And on top of work too, like somehow people see in China the hours that you put into work, the longer hour you put into work, that means
Yeah.
you are like more hardworking in Japan specifically. Like I think if Japan is very well known for is work culture that you need to put in so many hours at work.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Interesting. Yeah.
What about you?
My parents had a very loose concept of time. We were always late to things, and I hated it because people were annoyed and they would give us the glares, and I'd always be ready, but it was more my mother. She was more of the person that just kind of slacked off. My dad was military. So my dad was, okay, if we need to be there at 1400 hours, we're going to be there at 1300 hours and 50 minutes, like that was kind of, he was very military, so very regimented. And then in turn, like it also made me, I remember even being in our master's program and sitting there and income for students that were in our class, and they were from Nigeria, and they came in 30 to 45 minutes after class had started. And I'm thinking, folks, this is an expensive class. How are you not on time? Oh my goodness, just like shocked, like people would do that. And just that judgmental nature, I think when, like you said, like it became, oh my gosh, they're so disrespectful. They're walking in late. But that's not necessarily what they were intending to do. And we're going to get into why and how that looks like. But yes, time is always something that in places that I've traveled in more collective cultures, warmer climate cultures. Oh, I remember hiking in Nepal. And we were trekking up this mountain in the Himalayas, and we asked a passerby, excuse me, like, how much more time until the next village? And they'd be like, 15 minutes. 2 hours later, we still haven't reached the village. And we were like, did we take a wrong turn? No, because they just didn't have that same concept of time as me, the Westerner, and those in my group had. They were just like, that's not what this is about. So we're going to take a deep dive into time after time. And we're going to, you're welcome. I know, right? Me neither. We are going to emphasize anthropologist that our professor completely obsessed over, Edward T. Hall. And I always liked his name because his name was always abbreviated on books. It was like E.T. Hall. E.T., like extraterrestrial.
Alien.
Alien Hall. But yes, our professor was obsessed in our master's program about this. And I remember wanting to throw this book across the room a few times because I felt like, honestly, the book called Beyond Culture by Edward T. Hall was a book that, honestly, I felt like it really condensed cultures into be like very specific. This is what cultures are. Maybe I missed the point. But needless to say, he actually spurred a lot of good cultural education, intellectual insight into the differences of culture. So he's pretty renowned for his study of cultures and specifically the variance of time. In fact, he called social time as, quote, the silent language, as something that, quote, exists in the air around us, that's either familiar and comfortable or unfamiliar and wrong. So we had this idea that time is something that there's rules, there's a system, there's a process, and we all understand it. We may not be told what it is. We may not be instructed. We learn it very quickly. Hall saw that the concept of time is something that we are born into and that no dictionary can clearly define. Like you can't really look up time in any dictionary and just be like, okay, I guess it's the universal explanation for time in my culture. It's something that is only really defined by the cultures that we live in or the cultures that we visit. And we don't know those differences, of course, like you said, when you were dating that guy from the UK, until we actually interact with it.
Yeah. I definitely agree because we only have one set of rules, right? For us, we only know our way of how time works for us until we were confronted with the differences. And that also challenge us. Then that's the only way we will know, I guess this other reality of time and expectation of time exist.
Totally. Yeah. And we perceive other people's use of time or the way they engage with time as being disrespectful or wrong, or that's just unacceptable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Hall was great in the sense that he did kind of rag on Western culture a little bit because his whole idea or concept was that human inventions conflict with how we naturally experience our world around us. For example, our invention of time, our invention of language, tools, technology, they can limit us in the ways that we are naturally inclined to engage the world. I might not be able to enjoy a conversation with someone at the store, some stranger, if they want help with an item. And we've talked about the culture of returning favors in so much as I've got to go. I got to go pick up my son. I've got to go to the next event, right? So that time, that invention that in my Western culture has made me not engage with someone that maybe I would really have a good engagement with or a relationship. So these ideas that the things that we invent sometimes really box us up and they don't allow us to experience life as we really should. So, yes.
Wow, I love that. I love how you say it that way.
E.T. Hall, I know.
Good job.
Thank
Yes.
you, T. Hall. Yes. And we'll include the link to his books. I did find the book that we are going to base a lot of this conversation and podcast on. It's called Beyond Culture, and it's by E.T. Hall, Edward T. Hall. And there's a full PDF online. You can read it. And I highly encourage anyone who is very curious and nerdy like us to do it.
Nerdy.
Yes. I will speak for myself, Hoshin. Whatever.
I wear glasses, but I'm not nerdy, okay?
There are things you're nerdy about.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone nerdy about something.
It's true. There is no one nerd, parameters. Like everyone's nerdy. Yeah.
Yes. To
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so we are going to break down the silent language of time. So Hall actually grouped cultures into two kind of camps of interpreting time. And the first one is monochronic. And this is mono, which is the root for one, right?
Single,
Yeah, single chronic. Is that pain? Single pain? Oh no. Monochronic. I don't know Latin. Anyway, monochronic.
It sounds like a Lady Gaga album. I don't know why.
Ooh, hey, song idea, Lady Gaga, if you're listening. We got you, girl. But monochronic cultures being like Canada, America, Anglo-Saxon cultures, some Asian cultures like you alluded to, Hoshin, like Japan, South Korea. But those particular Asian cultures have always some kind of intermixing with the polychronic elements, which is the opposite of monochronic, which we're going to get into later. Monochronic cultures who view time, they view time very linear. So a beginning and an end. Past and present. I can do one task at a time, and I know that, whatever I do, it has some kind of structure or shape around it. A lot of monochronic cultures, especially within America and some Anglo-Saxon cultures, but it's the profit culture, right? Time is money. If I don't make use of my time, if you don't make use of your time, you're wasting your time. There's a high value on time and monetarily too. You're always task-driven in time-focused and linear cultures. Relationships made along the way are great. I made a friend. Nice. But that's not the focus.
They will not spend extra time on it.
No. Boss, family member does not care that you had a really good conversation with so-and-so on your way to the event. What they care about is you're late.
Exactly.
And why are you late? And what are you doing with your life? What are your plans for the future? Time is a commodity. If you don't move with it, you lose money, you lose opportunity, you lose chance. So it's very prized. We can feel enslaved to it. I have to be there on time. If I'm not on time, then I'm going to get, docked from my boss. Like schools, if you're not on time to school, you get a late notice. And so many late notices within the school district gets a phone call potentially from the teacher or principal. So I'm wondering why you and little Johnny are always late. So not being on time has a different kind of message. Decisions have to be made quickly. Otherwise, you're wasting that time. Time is limited, and it's, quote, of the essence, which is English colloquialism that if, all we have right now is time. And if you don't seize it, if you don't control it, if you don't actually act upon it, then it's going to be gone and you won't have that anymore. There's been some religious influences in the West regarding time, mainly the Protestant work ethic. And folks, we're going really high level, like we could have gone very deep, but I'm just kind of really broad brushing monochronic cultures. But there is that Protestant work ethic within the West that the more time you spend, the more success you'll get. So the more time you study, the better grades you're going to get. The more time you work on a project, the more you can climb up that ladder. It can be merged in this kind of like capitalistic idea where value is synonymous with money and time. What's interesting is that Edward Hall said in his book, Beyond Culture, he said that, quote, monochronic time is arbitrary and imposed. It is learned. It is not inherent in man's own rhythms and creative drives, end quote. And I totally agree with that. there is just, I feel the expectation of time on me all the time. And, for being creative and those inherent like things that you want to do. Oh, I just wish I could take a nap in the sun. Nope, you got to work.
True.
Like our rhythms, the things that are natural for us don't necessarily are embraced by us because we are driven by time.
I agree. Like siesta, I think is a good example. A lot of culture have siesta because you take a day break, in the middle of the day, which in many cultures is unheard of. That's not, you cannot do that. But for those cultures, it's really inherent to them and they feel good doing so. And to be honest, I feel that too.
Yeah.
Living in Spain or Italy, just traveling there, siesta is great. Take a little nap after food. It's beautiful. Lie on the beach for an hour and go back to work. I feel good.
It's so true. And you're more positive, you're more rejuvenated, everything like that. I mean, and I think that's a good segue, unless you have any other thoughts related to monochronic before we could jump into poly. No.
Let's go to poly.
Great. Polychronic cultures with time. So to your point, we're looking at Latin American, maybe Caribbean, African countries, Middle Eastern countries. Some places in Europe have that more looser concept of time, like Italy, Spain. So unlike monochronic, where time is linear, beginning and end, polychronic is more cyclical. And there's lots of it. There is no end. It's forever. Cyclical time is not a scarce commodity, but an unlimited supply. As they say in the East, when God made time, he made plenty of it. This idea that it's just a part of life because we see time and we see rhythms and we see seasons that just always keep coming back to what they're going to do. Polychronic cultures are more invested and more focused on relationship. Do it right and maintain harmony, even if that project, job, or task doesn't get done. As long as we went about it the right way, navigating our relationships, that's what matters. So instead of task-driven, it's relationship-driven. So goals and targets are great, but not always the focus, right? So it's more about, the fact that and I've experienced this with working with even people that came here from Syria. A lot of them would, at the immigration center that I used to work at, they knew they had a class to go to, but once you get in a conversation with them, they wouldn't leave. And I'm like, oh, but you have a class. And they're like, oh no, I want to sit here and talk to you. It was like, I want this relationship. I want to have this conversation. And that's to them was what more important. The second thing is that like tasks might even be deleted. So you might even get rid of a task in a job or in an event that you're planning if within that certain event, a relationship is compromised. There aren't necessarily any religious influences, but I would say Buddhism is a reflection of this idea of like cyclical time. In Buddhism, not only time, but also life itself goes around in a circle. Whatever we plan, however we organize our particular world, generation follows generation. Governments and rulers will succeed each other. Crops will be harvested. Monsoons, earthquakes, and other catastrophes will reoccur. Taxes will be paid. The sun and the moon will rise and set. Stocks and shares will rise and fall. The idea that no matter how we keep going, it's just going to keep happening. So why we're making this beginning and end, there really isn't. It is not driven by this was the past, but this is now the future. It's a circle. Yeah. It's not linear. Repeat.
That reminds me of like in the East, a lot of like kind of cultural practices or even activities that we do like yoga, like meditation.
Yeah.
They're all things that requires you to just chill out, not rushing anywhere. Yeah. It's a lot of just takes time to just be with yourself rather than go after anything. We don't have this obsession of running towards certain things. Yeah, and even our philosophy, like even the idea of Tai Chi, I don't know, so the black and white yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's also a circle. So we're all forever floating and immersing each other and about contrast, about this idea of whole and yeah, I don't know. This just remind me of like, when you talk about Buddhism, that's all that it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Of this kind of forever being in the middle of things, forever not pursuing necessarily anything that is, I don't know. I just have this kind of vibe and idea in my head.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think if you look at even the happiness score, I think we looked at a while ago, but if you look at the happiness score of how countries rank their happiness, it's a lot of polychronic time cultures that are happier. because they
Yeah.
are about the moment. They are about one another. They are about pausing and taking time and being in rhythm with nature, being in rhythm with their body, their impulses, those kinds of things. Whereas a lot of the unhappier cultures tend to be monochronic because we're driven by these inventions we've made, be on time and efficiency and capitalism, like all this stuff. Yes, it gets things done. Is that the end goal, to get things done, or is it to actually live your life as a human being? And this is getting really philosophical, but you know what I mean? Yeah, but it has
I know
an
what you mean,
impact.
but I think the idea of getting things done is also because we have to finish because there's something else coming, like there's time limits to things,
Sure,
right?
and
So
that's
let's get it
probably,
done.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Our
feasting.
survival could be,
Yeah.
like you harvest before the winters come because we know that once the storms come in, we're not going to be able to hunt food or whatever like that. So they're like that is, that's definitely a good example. But how we navigate our relationships, our work spaces, events, schools, like all of this is embodied by by our culture of time. Edward Hall, just to end with polychronic, but Edward Hall said in the same book, Beyond Culture, quote, polychronic cultures often place the completion of a job in a special category much below the importance of being nice, courteous, considerate, kind, and sociable to others. To be too obsessional about achieving a work goal at the expense of getting along is considered aggressive, pushy, and disruptive, end quote. Which I would say I have felt that. I have felt that with bosses. I have felt that with friendships. I have felt that within my family spaces, it's like, I don't care that you're sad right now. Buck up. We're going to go to this event. I'm not going to deal with you. And this isn't to say that I think it's easy to be like, oh, which culture is right? Which culture is wrong? That's not what we're trying to say or convey at all. We're just trying to convey that there are different interpretations of time. And sometimes those things can conflict.
I feel like in different scenarios, definitely different ways can be maybe better to adopt to handle the situation. And I think also knowing that there is different ways to see time to pursue task can help us to put our own in perspectives to think which way is better to serve me and my own happiness and the people around me. So we can have different tools in our toolbox when things arise.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's you are like the segue king right now. You just keep segueing beautifully to our next final point. And it's for Canada. We're bringing it home, Canada. So I think for me, the way that we perceive time has a large impact on how we adjust or think of other cultures. There was this study with Bradley and Phillips, two researchers, and the title of the study was called Culture and Stress, a Quantitative Analysis. We'll include the link in our show notes, but they surveyed Peace Corps workers to rank the most stressful cultural adjustments that these Peace Corps workers had while working in different countries and cultures. So options that they got to rank were like types of food eaten, cleanliness, standards of living, like what were the most stressful components. The top choice was the difficulty of mastering the new language. So that makes sense, right? That would be the number one.
I agree.
But the second top two had to do with time. One of them was the general pace of the life that the people locally followed. And then two, how punctual people were. And they talk about how some of the Peace Corps workers, like if they were in India or parts of Africa, and if someone like a local leader said, okay, we'll meet you tomorrow at 10 a.m., if it's a person from the West, they would be like, okay, 10 a.m., sitting there. And they're sitting there probably an hour, 2 hours until the people start coming. And so it's just those rhythm and paces of life that tended to be the most stressful for adaptation, which makes sense because cultures are learned by the world that we live in, the sense of I was born into the Western world. And how I learned and adapted to time was taught to me by the rhythms around me, my parents, expectations, unspoken rules, those kinds of things. So when that's all that we've known, and then we go experience time in another place, oh my gosh, they're not even coming. I mean, if I were that guy, I probably would have left, be like, oh, no one came. Maybe I got the day wrong. And then the elder would have been like, so where were you? I mean, maybe you have something coming up, no problem, tomorrow. Like they would be worried about the relationship as opposed to the event. So I thought that was a very interesting survey to really unpack like the most stressful things of adaptation are like that time orientation piece. Yeah.
Especially, I really resonate with this first thing that I'm concerned about the general pace of life.
Yeah.
I think, but also think that that's not necessarily different. That's only culture to culture. There's differences. I think even within the one culture, I feel like there's always also there's some small differences, like cities versus like small villages.
Sure.
People with different pace of time as well.
Suburban. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that variation is also very close among us.
It is. And there is many layers. The second thing is, I think with Canada, like we do have a large immigration population here.
We
and
do.
A lot of people from the global majority, a lot of people from Africa, Middle East, a lot of people from Asian countries, South Asian countries who have this very maybe more cyclical view of time. They'll see curves in the road. There's stops. There's some scenery. And there's some relationships that might eventually lead us back to where we began or to a different place. But we're not concerned about that because we're kind of enjoying the journey. We're along for the ride. Edward Hall said, for our professor, if he's listening, we should find a professor and send them. Hopefully he'd be proud of us. But Edward Hall said that, quote, our time system has done much to alienate Western man from himself. A reason for people getting sick is to escape the shackles of time and to return and re-experience their own rhythms. Without schedules, industrial society would be unknown, end quote. And I think that's a really good point.
Love that quote.
Right?
Without schedules, industrial society would be unknown. That
Yeah.
is a great quote.
Yeah. Because you think, in some of the ways that I've learned about Indigenous culture here, whether that's Songhees, the Esquimalt First Nations, there is this like, you are in tune with the rhythm of the land. And that's the rhythm. And that determines how you move and when, so whether that be survival, whether that be foreseeing family, whatever that looks like, it is in rhythm with the cycle or the kind of how life is happening. Whereas industrialized West, it was all about, the clock. The clock is the driving factor and efficiency, and, time is of the essence and don't waste time. Yeah.
I agree. I definitely like even growing up, always he's saying our past is always with us. It's not like the past is not behind us. No, our past is always with us.
Yeah.
And our current is also, we are the presence of our past and future.
Yeah.
There's a kind of saying that we believed in, at least. We always like to say history repeats itself and life is a cycle. All the things at some point you're back to where you was, and at some point your future will present yourself to present. So yeah, I definitely agree with what Edward Hall was saying.
Yeah. And I can see why our professor was obsessed with him. I think, honestly, in Canada we could use more polychronic cultural expressions. I think it would benefit us it would help us be kinder, but it would also help us learn to, I think, take a step back and be more relaxed and more finding community with one another. At least Vancouver Island, it's just so hard to find friends. Most people that move here, unless you have school or if you have family here already, we're just very much in our own little silos. And I feel like if we were more chronic, if we were more about the relationship than the event or the task, we probably would be a lot happier too.
I think it's also because everyone has a schedule. And so your date is set. Your possibilities are set.
It is.
You're not open for new friends, new people, new opportunities to walk in your life. Your time is linear.
Yes.
No gaps for anything to happen, to blossom.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're not making money with that time, what a waste of time. Like I battle that all the time with my job. If I'm not doing paid work, it's not valuable. So yeah, I think we've forgotten what it is to be us, which I don't think is found in a specific culture, but in the bones and the breath that we embody as human beings. And if to end on one more Edward T. Hall quote, if I may.
E.T. Hall.
Time to time. Edward stated, quote, sitting regimented at desks according to predetermined fixed schedules is no way to treat a primate capable of running up to 100 miles in one day.
Oh,
End quote.
100 miles a day.
I've never done that, but I like the idea that, you know what? You want to go for a run? Just keep going. Doesn't matter. You just go. It's fine because you have time. That is our episode.
You have time.
Culture of time.
Yes.
Time after time. Yeah.
I also have another song for time, actually. I just think of
Do you?
it. Yeah.
What is
It's
it?
just a sign of the times. Welcome to the final show.
Ooh.
Hope you're wearing your best clothes. You do know the song?
Is it the famous poet Taylor Swift? No?
But
Dang it.
no,
Okay.
it's Harry Styles.
Harry.
Sign of the times, I know.
Wow. Okay.
Just stop your crying. It's the sign of the times.
Well, see, you can see the age difference here. I referenced a song from like the 80s, and you referenced a song from, I don't know, the late 2000s or early 2000s.
I don't know, 7
last
years ago. A couple years ago.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Hoshin, for joining me. And welcome. Thank you, guests, for listening, new and old listeners. Would love to hear about your expressions of time and what you think about how time in general. Do you identify more polychronic, monochronic, or are you kind of a combination of both? Because that can exist too.
I would think I'm a combination.
Yes, a combination. Yeah. If you're new listening, thank you. Please tell all your family and friends, your racist uncle, and everyone in between.
Please do.
Please do. And get ready for our Canadian Salad Pup quiz, where we are going to quiz each other on a question related to today's topic.
Yes, that we don't know what it is.
We don't know. Hoshin has no prep time. I have no prep time. So
He said, I don't know what question gonna be asked.
I know it's the most beautiful way of not having a scheduled question that you can prepare for. Way for us to be polychronic. Or not. Or not.
Very, very to the theme.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right,
Yes.
Hoshin, why don't you go first, my love?
Okay, my question is definitely about time. Sometimes it's the ultimate time.
Ooh.
Ultimate time question to us all is about life expectancy.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know the average life expectancy for Canadians based on the new 2022 data?
2022 data. I'm going to say it is 76 years old.
76.
Yes. Final
Close
answer.
enough, no, but not really. Not really.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's actually a bit up. It's a Statistic Canada says our life expectancy for average Canadian is 81.3.
81.3. Wow.
Yeah, in 2022.
That means my life is just over half over.
You're 40. 43. You're 43.
I am. I know. I'm just
Yeah.
over half. Like
It's
just
true.
over that little hill. You've got a ways to
know.
go, spring chicken.
I know. I'm not even middle aged yet based on that data.
Just you wait. It's awesome. You'll have pain for no reason. It's great.
I already have pain. Like my shoulder hurts today. I don't know
Oh,
what
no.
I didn't do anything yesterday. My shoulder kind of
No.
hurts.
Maybe
I
I'm
know.
rubbing off on you.
I just sometimes wake up with like pain somewhere.
Oh, yeah. It's
You
happening.
never know. It's happening already.
You're in the pre-middle-aged category.
And I'm feeling
pre-middle-aged,
the
and you're feeling
effects of it.
You're
I'm feeling
welcome.
the effects of it. Yes.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Anytime.
What about you? What is your question?
In Canada, how many time zones are observed in Canada alone? Did you know there's more than one?
Four?
4? Okay. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
There are 6.
6?
6
Wait.
time zones.
Pacific time, Mountain time, and then the Toronto. I don't know what the time it is. And then I thought it's Nova Scotia has a time. What's
Okay.
the other two?
So there's PST, Pacific Standard,
Pacific.
MST,
That's our time.
Mountain Standard,
I know Calgary.
CST, Central Standard,
That is Toronto.
EST, Eastern
no.
Standard Time.
Oh, middle is the Manitoba or something, and the EST is Toronto time. Yes, go on.
Yes. AST, Atlantic Standard Time.
Oh.
And then NST, Newfoundland Standard Time.
Oh,
6.
I didn't know
And there are 24 time zones
in the world.
in the world. And 6 of those are only Canada.
Yeah, interesting. You know, in China, there's only one.
Oh, interesting.
Even China is so big, it's only one.
It's so big. It's so much bigger. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'll include the link and you can read the history of who started
All the
this
time.
whole
So,
thing.
I mean, it kind of makes sense,
That's
to be
all.
honest.
I guess
Yeah.
so. I guess so.
Yeah, otherwise, when sun's setting, they are still midnight in some sense. So,
Yes. But honestly, if you're a parent and you have a new baby and you have to do like daylight savings time and you have to like,
True,
it's
true,
a,
true.
yeah,
It
it's a
is,
wreck.
it is, yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
you.
Thank you, Hoshin. Have a wonderful time this week. If you do it cyclically or linearly, whatever it is, just remember you were made for maybe to be in tune with more impulses and creativity than
Yes.
you were to be on schedule.
Thank you. And thank you everyone to, spend this time with us. And hopefully hopefully your time is well spent.
Yes.
And remember not to too rush on finishing any task. Maybe listen to more podcasts, listen to another episode.
And if you really want to expand the use of your time, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, or check out our website. We can check out all the really cool links that we just cited today at canadiansalad.ca. That's our website, www.canadiansalad.ca.
Thank
It's
you,
okay.
Andrea. And thank you, everyone.
Yes,
See you
thank
next week.
you. Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hoshin Ho and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avetyan from Pixabay.
This has been a good Drinklin production.